So our next speaker today will be Ray Willard from the Washington Department of Transportation, and he's going to give us a virtual field trip of IVM practices in the WSDOT's Port Angeles maintenance area. So with that, I'll give you Ray.
All right. Should be going here. Come on, screen. Michael.
Are you frozen, Ray?
No? Am I frozen?
Yeah, I can see. No, I can see your slide.
Okay, good. All right. So I had to jump in here. We had one of our speakers cancel, but I was really happy to do this because I'm anxious to show everybody what we've got here, because this is kind of an example of what I'd like to do for all the areas of the state. We're starting with Olympic Region Area 3, which is out on the peninsula. But really what this is kind of a deep dive into the site that we're managing out there. And really what it allows us to do is take a look at the history of the site and the culture of the area that we're working in, the people that we have to deal with as far as the locals there. And then also just, how things grow around the state. Every site is different. So this will allow us to basically take a field trip through time and space. And I've got slides here at the start, and then I'm going to jump to it's an Esri application, but it's ArcGIS, and it basically allows you to present a map of the site and then to show pictures that I've been able to take over. Really, it's been I started taking and saving digital photos of this area right around the turn of the century. So I've got close to 20 years worth of historic photos from this area. And it's obviously, you'll see, it's one of my favorite areas of the state. I've been able to spend a bunch of time up there over the years, and I've gotten to know the crews, and I've also gotten to know some of the local activists or local concerned citizens that we have up there. And I don't know, this is just, I love my job. I said that the other day when I was on here, but the best part of my job is being able to go all over the state and kind of take a deep dive into what is going on there and what's going on with the landscape. So you guys, I'm a landscape architect. Most of you have heard me talk, or a lot of you have heard me talk before. The TOT guys I know who are on here are sometimes get tired of probably hearing me yammer on, but I love to talk about landscape management and get kind of passionate about it at times. But anyway, so this is going to be a look at Olympic Region Area 3, and I'm going to start out by recommending a couple of books to you all. And one of them is, let's see, get this to advance here. Go. So two books that I've been able to read during this pandemic that have sort of helped me pull through with some sanity. And this has been really good read. The Final Forest was actually published in 1992. And so at that time, it was kind of at the end of the whole, it was like right when spotted owl was listed and salmon wasn't listed yet, but it really changed the logging industry in Washington and set up a lot of the politics that we have now in terms of kind of pitting against the environmental side of the equation against the working class. And that really is explained in this book very well, because it really takes up the perspective of all of the folks that were living during that time and trying to deal with it. And then the Overstory is a fiction novel, but it's one of the best books I've ever read. So you just got to read that, because what it does is it makes you think of beyond our life here on Earth, and really think in the time scale of trees' lives. And there's all kinds of metaphors about trees. Anyway, so those two books. But really what we're talking about here is landscape and what I do, what is landscape architecture. And this job, as working for the DOT, a lot of people think of landscape architecture as designing parks and golf courses and people's yards. But really, this is the real landscape architecture. We're really talking about siting our structures, whether that be a road or a building or whatever it is. Could also be a farm or a timber harvest. So basically, what are we doing when we go about our business here in Washington and the work that we're doing has an impact on the landscape. How can we make the lightest footprint possible on the landscape and still be able to have a really
Rain,
great life?
sorry to interrupt. Your slides aren't progressing?
Oh, they're not?
Oh, no, I don't know why.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, we still
I
just
can't
the
see my
first one.
slides. So
Oh,
what
really?
slide are you seeing?
The first one.
The first,
Huh. So let me see here. Let me try if I say present. Clean.
There we go.
Is that working?
For that slide yet. Do you want to try to go to the next
So
one?
did you guys didn't see the books, huh?
Yeah. No, it's the #1 question in the comments. So there you go. Now we have them.
There they are. Sorry, guys. Okay. I learned something about GoToWebinar there, Michael. All right. So really thinking about what Lewis and Clark saw when they first got here and really the raw virgin landscape of Washington State. So we have our state boundaries. This is just arbitrary political boundaries, really. If you really wanted to look at how areas of development and civilization should be organized, it really should be based on watersheds. But that doesn't always work out. So we draw straight lines, and this is what it looks like. But we have a set of area here that we can actually, have some regulation, have some, local. This is our state. The people who live here, we can have some say on how we manage the landscape. And really, what my whole mission is, and in my work with DOT, and as the reason I became a landscape architect, is what I want to see us happen here is I want us to make as light a footprint as possible on the state and save this place. I mean, this is the most beautiful place, I think. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's probably the best place to live in the world. I don't know, but I love it here. So really, what we're talking about is taking all things into account. And this is just the natural landscape. There's a whole social fabric that lays over this. But in terms of the natural landscape, you're talking about the geography of this site and the underlying soils and rocks and what the foundation, and then the water running over it, all of the creatures and plants and everything that runs around on top of it. And then on top of that, you have the climate that's a changing, right? So what do we do to have sustainable human development, considering all these things, and also considering the fact that there's just a bunch of people that are going to want to live here in the future? We're going to have this place, if we don't watch out, is going to get overrun, and it won't last. Anyway, so talking about roads. And roads.
Darn, Ray, sorry, it's Taryn again. We're still just on the landscape slide. Darn.
What's going on, Michael?
I don't know, Ray. What did you do?
All our new technology.
Huh, that's so weird. I'm sorry, guys. This has been going really well up to now, right?
Yeah, you've done this many times, Ray. This is not.
Let me try something here. Let's see. What if I go to display settings and say
in the
now that's showing my other. That's showing the preview slide, right? Can you see that?
We still see got landscape. Why don't you stop showing your screen and then we'll try kind of starting. Oh, okay.
Maybe it's the pause button. Should it show pause or play when I'm?
It should show play. Or no, it should have the option to pause. Did you pause it? Maybe is that maybe? So now we're seeing your preview. So go up to display settings and swap.
Yeah. Geez, sorry guys.
And before you finish, you got to mention those books again because we're getting a lot of questions about them.
Okay. Let's see. Wait. Dang it. Okay. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say present screen 2. There we go. How does that look? You seeing the poster? Visualizing roadsides and transportation assets?
Yes.
All right. Sorry.
For there.
Okay. Well, there's only, what, 700 people watching, so no big deal. All right. It's this is the poster. So the books, if anybody missed those, just send me a note. Okay, but those are the 2 books. But the rest of this stuff, the poster. So basically, what we're looking at here is roadside landscapes, and you can apply this to any landscape. But really, what you need to do with your site is figure out, what kind of a landscape strategy you're going to take in managing it, and break it down, and then create a map. And so that's what we've done. And by doing that, we've been able to, we actually don't have all our property lines mapped, but we know we own about 100,000 acres of unpaved land in the state. So that's all 7,000 miles of corridor that we maintain. And that includes mostly, about half secondary and a half interstate freeway, where you've got wide right-of-ways and limited access. A lot of the secondary roads, we're only talking about 60 foot of right-of-way and a 30-foot roadway, so that leaves 15 feet on either side, and there's not much room for anything other than a safety zone. But this is kind of how it breaks down for us statewide, is we have 6,500 acres of bare ground that we apply along all the edges of our highways, and that costs us about $200 per acre per year to do, just to drive along and spray. And then we have about 33,500 acres of zone, what we call zone 2, which is the safety zone. And so that is basically maintained as low growing vegetation and takes some work, takes a lot of mowing and some spraying. And then everything else beyond that out here, we have 55,000 acres left over statewide that's kind of out beyond what needs to be maintained for safety. And that is really the gap in our maintenance, because that is the area that we're not really funded to take care of. And a lot of times we end up just kind of letting it grow wild. All right, so we've also got some formal landscape, 1,100 acres of that, including our rest areas. We've got these resource conservation areas that were set up during highway construction, supposed to be basically preservation of old established landscape types. And then we have our mitigation program, which we're kind of passing through about 2,000 acres out of SWAT, because some of these 10 years out are finally turned back into regular maintenance. But we have environmental mitigation sites that are maintained to meet permit conditions over a 10 to 12 year period at the start of their life. Okay, I'm going to get through this fast because I know I'm getting out of time here. So here we go. The plans, we've been able to do plans for all the areas of the state. So 2 of the regions have now rolled their plans into a regional document, but Olympic region you can see right here, and area 3 within Olympic region is just one of the areas within that region. So what we did with those plans is we basically took and inventoried all of the work that's being done, planned, and actually accomplished. And it breaks down in terms of lines where we're spraying or mowing, and it has points for where we have weed infestations. And then we've drawn polygons around areas that are being managed as landscape type. This is some bio release on Scotch broom. And then of course we have the landscape, formal landscape as well. So those are all mapped out now, and our guys have iPads. And if you've seen the presentations in the past, I've showed kind of what that looks like. Right, so I'm going to go through this every year with each crew, including the guys up in Port Angeles. These guys are the, we go way back. We've been doing this since early 2000s, when the locals up there got really concerned about our spraying. We were, on the front lines. When it comes to spraying, DOT is right there. Everybody sees us. We get a lot of questions, shall we say. But these are a couple of guys that have good old spray techs in the area. Neil Richardson, unfortunately, was actually lost his life working on the roadside a few years later after this picture was taken. Tree. And then this is Monty Mills. Monty, I met him back in the early 2000s, and he eventually became my supervisor within DOT and ran the roadside and roadway operations program for DOT for several years, I think 5 or 6. It's Bill Riley, who's another former superintendent there. we've just had a really great group of leaders there to help us get through this really tough negotiation with the public over how we manage the roadsides. Don Klotfelter, I threw a picture of Don in here for those of you who know Don. He's retired now, and he's like living the life of Riley. I mean, literally, this guy just every day goes out hiking or gets in his car and takes a road trip, and he puts it all on Facebook. So we love Don, and he still helps out with our WSDOT Memorial Fund as well. So really great group of guys in the area, and just being able to hang out with these guys and be out there when they're doing their work and see what's going on, it's the best part of my job for sure. It's the crew lately, so we've been out. There's the guys, and then this is really what we're up against in the area. This is the most beautiful area in the state. It's some of the most remote and rugged landscape we have in our country, and yet we've been logging the heck out of it for years. And this is, we have to put up really thick signs up here so the bullets don't go through, right? This is what we're dealing with. And then over time, there's been so many issues that played out over there over the last decades. This is the Elwha. We took out 2 major dams that had been built on the Elwha. This is about 10 years ago now when they were taking out the lower dam. But if you haven't had a chance to get up there, this is an amazing sight to see. And then we were in the papers in 2003. This is 2003. Made the Seattle papers. Port Angeles was kind of on the spotlight, in the spotlight, and under the microscope. And Chris Christopher, this is one of our, he's now the construction engineer for WSDOT, but at the time he was a brand new state maintenance engineer. I think he's about 32 years old here. That's the county commissioner, and we were right there in the county courthouse with the public talking about our program. So here we are. This is kind of the heart of the area, the Olympic National Park. And I've actually got that on my shirt here. So just so you know, this is a little fashion statement today. Hurricane Ridge. This is a lot of what you'd see in the area. If we didn't maintain the roadsides, all you would really see would be, trees as you're driving through. And the logging has opened up a lot of views. And occasionally we'll come across an interchange in that area, or the Swim Bypass is another area where we've got some extra road. But this is kind of what we're talking about, is what is a state of good repair. This is a section you probably have seen before the operational zone and then everything else. And this is what a lot of our roadsides look like in the Port Angeles area. And so we are basically looking at maintaining, in a lot of cases, just a pavement and this safety zone, and then this is somebody else's property out here. So story map really quick. So we're going to jump to the other screen here, and I've got the story map organized in terms of examples of zone 1 treatment, zone 2 treatment, noxious weed control treatment, and zone 3 treatments. All right. Go fast here. So share screen, and I want to jump to, so this is I had this all set up to go a certain way, Michael, but now I'm gonna have to mess around with it. So let's see if I go, let's see, I want to get out of this. So end slideshow. I think I can just do this, and then I can go, boom, and I can bring this over here. Does that work? Do you guys see that map with the picture?
Yes. Ray, your audio is kind of cutting in and out, so make sure you're close to your computer.
Ah, dang. Yeah, I was getting that on Mary and Jerry too this morning. So mine is kind of cutting in and out.
It is, I'm afraid.
All right, well, sorry about that, guys. I don't think I can help that here. But I'll just keep going because it is recorded, right? The recording is going to cut in and out too. I don't know. Here we go. So this is some examples of what we're doing there in terms of restoring the roadside, because a lot of what we're doing is not just the maintenance. Obviously, it's design and construction, right? So this is Hitch and Dick. This is between Squim and you can see on the map here. This is the ARC story map, and I'm going to zoom in here. So this is where we're at on the story map, and you can see this is Dungeness Spit. This is right near the exit to Dungeness Spit, out in the middle there of the area right around Squim. But we were able to plant this out with a native low-growing vegetation in Zone 3, and then we're maintaining that as a ongoing planting. And that's kind of what we'd like to do whenever we have the chance with construction and design, and then make sure when we have maintenance, take this site over, that they have funding and resources to make sure it doesn't get overrun with weeds. But here's Zone 1. So talking about Zone 1, pavement edge, in that area, we've had to basically go to mowing Zone 1. And that's been a real interesting story, because as a result of our trying to reduce spray in the area, we experimented by not spraying the shoulders for a period of about 10, 12 years. And in that time, we saw the costs of shoulder maintenance go way up and be almost unmanageable in places because of not just the mowing requirements. This is one of the highest rainfall areas in the state, but also the edge buildup that occurs at the low spots where all of the sediment ends up, and that causes some problems as far as water quality and pollution. And just having to go through that repeatedly. Out on the coast, this is way out on, you can see this is out by Kalalam Bay, and Japanese knotweed growing right on the shoulder. So we can't mow that. If you mow that, you got to make sure and not leave any parts on the ground or it'll spread. So that is an herbicide treatment. That is a spot on the map that we would have to get with special attention. Horsetail, and this is an example of what Mary was talking about. This is a native plant, and yet if it's in Zone 1, it's a problem. It's a weed. And so we have to control this, and if we can't use herbicides, there's no way to control it. We've tried. I mean, fire, blankets. I mean, you can fight it back, but it's best to just hit it with some herbicides. So here we are hitting it with herbicides, and this is, the caravan that we have to put out there when we're spraying our shoulders. And on these 2-lane roads, luckily there's not a lot of traffic, but it can cause some problems. When we were reestablishing, a lot of times we had to go in there and actually regrade the shoulders before we started spraying them again. This is really expensive if you have to remove this material and put it someplace. This is really expensive too. This is around Lake Crescent, and we still have issues with this because it's just in the park, and they don't want to spray in at all. And so we rebuilt the road this last couple years ago, and unfortunately, they didn't capitalize on some of the technology that's come around that you can actually underlay guardrail with some fabric. And so check this out. Watch the map over here. I'm going to jump to the next slide, which is actually, no, it's not that. Okay, not yet. We're going to go to California in a second here. But this is this under guardrail fabric. This is actually recycled material called weed ender. It's like a carpet fabric. You still have to keep this cleaned off, but it keeps you from having to spray. But here we are. So I got to take a road trip down to San Francisco. 2 of my kids are in the Bay Area now, so we've been road tripping down to see them during the pandemic. And Highway 1, if you haven't driven Highway 1, man, I've done it a few times now. It's intense, but it's worth it. So here's this under guardrail treatment that they have in Caltrans, which is state of the art. They've been studying this. They're putting this in all over. And so this is kind of what we need to be doing in Washington too, in the long term. Guys, any of my maintenance guys out there. So we'll work on that. But here's the cost to spray. This is actually a few years back, but looking at putting out 4 maintenance techs in trucks with this mix of products at the time, we could do 55 shoulder miles of spraying per day at a cost of $74 per mile. That's not per acre. So comparing that to the cost of mowing the shoulder, 3 maintenance techs, a tractor, buffer truck, you have to take the trailer out there and shuttle things around. 7 shoulder miles a day, $186 per mile. So way more expensive. You have to grade that, and that's also expensive. This is kind of really expensive, but this is kind of what we have to do there. And take the excavator out, put a mowing head on it, and just cut it back. And or a lot of trimming like this. We're actually trimming branches with a flail mower. Not ideal, but that's what we got. There we are. And then this is last year. We were out there, and we're not going to have time, but I do have some footage. We were able to fly the drone out there last summer, so I have some really cool drone footage, not just of the operations, but of some of the landscape in these areas along the coast. And it's beautiful out there. But this speeds up the operation. This obviously is a lot more people and equipment involved, but it moves faster, and it actually extends the cycle between when you have to come back and mow it again. So they can get through and every few years use an operation like this, and then in between years they just use one of these. This is the truck cat. This is a truck mounted mower that we have that's really fast. And so if you get that out there and just mow the shoulder every year, and then cut the back slope when you need to every few years, and then maybe spray a little bit with that, to keep the trees down. That's kind of what we have to do. And a lot of times this is just how it looks out there. This will green up and be, hardly be able to tell we were there within a few weeks. So this is 2002. We were out there and we had just rebuilt the road. We had designated as a National Scenic Byway, actually, and it's beautiful. All of these slopes, though, were just seeded with erosion control grass. And what happened? They sprouted red alder right away. And so within a couple years, we were like, oh, we better do something. And this is before we really had our IVM plans going. And the guys went out in the middle of the summer and just knocked it all back with some garland. And that really got the locals, got their hackles up a little bit, and they were not happy about that. There were some places where the tree was right in front of the creek, and so obviously our spray must have gone past the tree into the creek. Garland's now an aquatic herbicide. They didn't know that back then. Anyway, whatever. It's just a matter of how do you knock that back, and it's really an intensive process. This is actually the national park. I'm going up to Hurricane Ridge. You can see this is right on the road there. So if you guys get a chance and you're at Port Angeles, be sure and drive up to Hurricane Ridge. It's well worth it. This is really what the roadsides look like through the area. This would be an ideal example of a nice bare ground strip with stable salal on the back slope. That only needs occasional trimming. You've even got some native rhododendrons in here, and all the trees. It's a second growth forest. This will probably get logged again eventually, but for now, we can manage this pretty effectively for quite a while with very little maintenance. Weeds. All right, here we are. We still got 6 minutes left. So here we are, hawkweeds. You heard about hawkweeds. This is the wall series, Mary, I think. This actually, I think, is European, is what I meant it to be. We had European hawkweed out here in the middle of the flats between, Clallam and Crescent, and this was a Class A noxious at the time, so we were really focused on it. It flowers a lot later than all the rest of the hawkweeds. We're still fighting it out there. Scotch broom was brought in ship ballast. Okay, Port Townsend ship ballast, 1800s. That's when the broom was brought over and started into the area. The logging industry spread it around from there. So Scotch broom's been there forever. It's kind of naturalized itself in some places almost, but we're constantly trying to control that where we can. This is orange hawkweed. We had an infestation right here of Lake Sutherland, which it was residential planting that escaped out onto the roadside and started to spread down our shoulders. And we've got that one pretty well whipped in shape. At least I think we do. I know. I hope the Port Angeles guys are watching today. Okay, here's kind of what a lot of this looks like. This is cow parsnip, but easily giant hogweed could hide in there pretty easily.
You're at 4 minutes, sir.
Yeah, we'll get through it. So here we are, basically we've mapped all of our priorities and we're out there trying to hit the spots that need it with the right timing and the right chemicals. And to do that over this much area it's a real challenge. So the guys are on it. We've got some really good crew up there, and I depend on them to get this work done. Here they are out spraying. A lot of times we'll just go through and look for weeds when they're apparent, when they're flowering, and try to knock as many seeds as we can off before they go to seed. This is the interchange 101 and 104, which has been an ongoing problem for us. We really haven't been able to stay on this and manage it effectively. This would be a decades-long process if we really wanted to restore this, because it's got broom seed and thistle and tansy and all kinds of fun weeds in there. So we're basically in the process right now of trying to set up a ongoing program where we have mowed it now, and we'll spray the regrowth. Some areas will let sprout some trees. You know, it's a long-term process. A lot of other areas, zone 3s, we're talking about zone 3 now, we're on the purple dots. These are the slopes that were seeded when we built the highway with just erosion control grass and then walked away. And so you get these sprouts of alder and broom and stuff that, you know, it's really hard to maintain all that. Swim bypass, you can see that's blackberry, Himalayan blackberry, which isn't very established throughout the area, is now getting a foothold in swim bypass. So we've actually prioritized Himalayan blackberry in this area as a target species. So it's one of our priority weed control sites. Here's a Rodney out on his ATV, doing some spraying. All right. Park Service, we have to deal with them. They try to take care of the roadsides in the parks. All right, going back to PowerPoint now. That's the map tour. Back to PowerPoint. And here, okay, geez, okay. How am I doing on sound? Is it glitching out?
It's actually been better.
All right. See if this, I don't know if this is works. Back to PowerPoint. Are you seeing that story map slide?
Yes.
Okay. So there's Claylock out on the coast. Again, if you guys haven't had a chance to visit this area, the coastline is what it's all about. 101 runs all the way around, and this is some of the most rugged and remote coastline in the entire country. Outside of Alaska, I guess, but Port Townsend, beautiful city. There's some great surfing. This was one day after a storm. We actually had to close the road out on 112, but I was out there with the guys looking at the tree damage, and these surfers were out there just having a blast. This is Dungeness. If you haven't had a chance to walk this, look at this spit. I mean, this is amazing. This is a national treasure. There's from, got it. This is the top of Hurricane Ridge, or up near the top looking down at the spit, and you can see how long this is. Here's the lighthouse way out here. It's beautiful. Mount Baker from the waterfront in Port Angeles. One morning I was up there. There's Lift National Park. Beautiful. I mean, this is a must see, right, guys? Lake Crescent. It's like nowhere else in the world, right? A lot of culture there. Of course, the native tribal culture is really deeply embedded in this place, and still apparent. You didn't know Port Angeles has a single A team. A lot of Sasquatch lore up there. Lavender. There's Quilcene, the pearl of the peninsula. Sculpture garden we're seeing. This is another example of culture up there. This is a mower that the Port Angeles maintenance guys built, very proudly naming it the Brush Slayer. There you go. So just a lot of road shots. I like to take these curvy road shots. You guys have seen my stuff before. I love to take pictures. So there you go. Madrona. Last thing here. This tree. Okay, this is in Port Angeles. This tree is probably 300 or more years old. It's now close to dead. But this is 2005, I think, when I took this, and it was at its prime. I mean, this tree is amazing. And throughout this region, Madrona is one of the natives that really distinguishes Washington and this part of the country. And this tree is, I just love it. We had a grove of these when I was growing up in my front yard, and I spent a lot of time climbing Madronas as a kid. So there it is. I made it through, and just a minute over, right?
Yeah, thanks, Ray. But overwhelmingly, the number one question was about the 2 books.
All right.
So let
me go back to that.
Sorry, that one's, yeah, and Jerry can still talk.
I'll leave it on that. Come on. Show it. The final forest, I guess I'm gonna have to go like this. I don't know. I'd have to end slideshow. There we go. End slideshow. Go this, put this one over. Oh wait, are you seeing this one? You're seeing that now.
We see your email.
See my email? Oh, sorry. There you go. So, yeah, if you guys, you can call me too, or send me a note, and happy to talk to anybody about this stuff. Thanks, you guys.